We want to take you to the White House, where President Trump and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz are answering questions about the group chat snafu. Let's listen in.
It's a question I've been asked now, and I've given a few answers, and they've all been the same. We have an amazing group. Our national security now is stronger than it's ever been. We have had a very, very successful, numerous attacks on that area. These are people that shoot down ships, not only our ships, ships all over the world. They're shooting down right out of the water and damaging them badly, or they're going down. They're also shooting anything that happens to be flying in the area. We hit them very, very hard. There was no classified information, as I understand it. They used a app, if you want to call it an app, that a lot of people use, a lot of people in government use, a lot of people in the media use. And I think I'll ask Mike. Mike is here. Do you want to respond to that, please?
Yes, Mr. President. You asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of lessons. There's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months between them, our destroyers being fired upon dozens of times. President Trump took decisive action with his national security team, took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites. And for once, as we hear, as you all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength. You're welcome, world. And look, we had a national security team that was coordinating these efforts. As Director Radcliffe testified today, his first day on the job, he was introduced to this app on his government systems at the CIA and at the State Department and otherwise. So, look, this journalist, Mr. President, wants the world talking about more hoaxes and this kind of nonsense rather than the freedom that you're enabling. And a key part of our sovereignty is open sea lanes and knocking the crap out of terrorists, which is exactly what your team and Pete Hegseth, a good friend and fellow veteran, is leading the charge on, and it's an honor to be part of it.
We had a very, very successful evening, and we've had numerous successful evenings and days in that area. The Houthis are absolutely on the run. The worst of them has been killed. This should have been done a long time ago by Biden, but Biden was an incompetent president. He couldn't do anything. He didn't know where he was going. He had no clue. This guy had no clue. This should have been done a long time ago. As they shoot missiles at ships, randomly shoot missiles at ships, and they make their own missiles. You know, this is not an incompetent group of people. They make their own missiles. They get the missiles also from Iran. It's an offshoot of Iran, another offshoot. You have Hamas, you have Hezbollah, you have the Houthis. You got a lot of stuff going on with Iran. And we sent a letter to Iran. You're going to have to be speaking to us one way or the other pretty soon, because we can't let this happen. But that's an app that a lot of people use, and somebody got on. I mean, I happen to know the guy's a total sleazebag. The Atlantic is a failed magazine. Does very, very poorly. Nobody gives a damn about it. This gives it a little bit of a shot. And I will tell you this, that they've made up more stories, and they're just a failing magazine. The public understands that. He's a very good man. That man is a very good man right there that you criticize so strongly. He's a very good man, and he will continue to do a good job. In addition to him, we had very good people in that meeting, and those people have done a very, very effective job, and you're going to see it. And it goes on, by the way. It's going to go on. And I think the Houthis wish that it didn't happen, but that's what it's all about. We have to create a safe country, a safe world, and that's what we're doing.
Do you think national security was put at risk by the president of senior officials using signal moving forward? The use of signal to communicate from senior officials.
Well, I don't know anything about signal. I wasn't involved in this, but I just heard about it. And I hear it's used by a lot of groups. It's used by the media a lot. It's used by a lot of the military, and I think successfully, but sometimes somebody can get onto those things. That's one of the prices you pay when you're not sitting in the Situation Room with no phones on, which is always the best, frankly. But the best is to be there. In fact, oftentimes I've been in fact, just last week I was in the Situation Room on something very important, and we had a couple of people hooked up by line, and I said, cancel the line. Sorry, fellas, what you do is we'll tell you all about the meeting, because I know people do get on those lines, whether it's Signal or anything else. Yeah.
So are you going to change any procedures as a result of this?
Well, I mean, look, we look at everything, and they've made a big deal out of this because we've had 2 perfect months. We are bringing in business. We have another one announced tomorrow, a big one, very big. Like in the history of our country, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I think probably a lot of people are saying they started by saying it was the greatest first month that a president has ever had, and I think that's true. And now they say it's the best second month, and they had to find something. And this certainly will look at this, but the main thing was nothing happened. The attack was totally successful. It was, I guess, from what I understand, took place during, and it wasn't classified information. So this was not classified. Now, if it's classified information, it's probably a little bit different. But I always say you have to learn from every experience. I think it was very unfair the way they attacked Michael. He's a good person. The person that was on just happens to be a sleazebag, so maybe that's just coincidence. I don't know.
But you are going to conduct
Would
an
it be a
investigation.
problem if
Mr.
the
President?
Atlantic released all the text messages if they're not classified?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to ask the military about that because, maybe you wouldn't want that. I don't know. I will say this, that from what I heard, the man that we're talking about, who's not somebody that I don't think most people have ever heard of, he found it very boring and he left early. He got off the line very early. So I can't speak to it other than that. So he's made up a lot of stories, and I think he's basically bad for the country. But it's a failing venture, very failing venture. They're very upset. And a thing like this is publicity for them. But I don't think we should allow people that are very good, like that man sitting right at the end of the table who's done a great job. We shouldn't allow them to be hurt by it.
Mr. President,
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you saying you're okay with the continued use of Signal by administration officials?
No, that's not what I said. I said we'll look into it, but everybody else seems to be using it. It seems to be the #1 used device or app, whatever you want to call it, and we will certainly look. If it was up to me, everybody would be sitting in a room together. The room would have solid lead walls and a lead ceiling and a lead floor. But, life doesn't always let you do that. In the meantime, the attack itself that we were talking about and discussing has been an unbelievable success.
But you will conduct an investigation, is what you're saying into this.
We'll look into it, sure.
Mr. President,
I would look into it, sure. I want to look
Is that
into
the FBI?
anything like that. I would ask them. It's not really an FBI thing. It's really something having to do with security. Security, like, will somebody be able to break in? Are people able to break into conversations? And if that's true, we're going to have to find some other form of device. And I think that's something that we may have to do. Some people like Signal very much. Other people probably don't. But we'll look into it. I think, Michael, I've asked you to immediately study that and find out. If people are able to break into a system. Now, in this case, it wasn't that this attack was going on and nobody found out anything. And again, the person that was on, as I understand it, he left very early because he didn't find it very exciting. But I think it's something you should look into.
Yes, sir, we are. We have our technical experts looking at it. We have our legal teams looking at it. And of course, we're going to keep everything as secure as possible. No one in your national security team would ever put anyone in danger. And as you've said, and we've repeatedly said, the attack was phenomenal and it's ongoing. But the media wants to talk about everything else except for the hostages you're getting out of the Middle East, Iran on its back foot, sea lanes getting reopened, peace in Europe. As we just saw today with the Black Sea ceasefire, we were just on with Steve Witkoff, myself, our team in Saudi Arabia. They want to talk about all this other stuff except for your amazing successes and the successes of your team.
One of the other things, and sometimes you have to move very quickly, and there are other devices that are very good, but they are very, very cumbersome, and you're not able to use them and from a practical standpoint. So all we can do is find out the best we have with modern technology. They'll probably get better over the years. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, on the Black Sea, so the Kremlin has said that there are several conditions that would need to be met for this agreement to happen. This includes sanction relief for banks and some companies. Did the U.S. agree to all of those conditions that they laid out?
They will be looking at them, and we're thinking about all of them right now. There are about 5 or 6 conditions. We're looking at all of them.
The White House has said that it's looking into how journalists got added to that signal chat. Is it possible that there could be a firing of even a lower mid-level official once that person is identified? About the signal chat that we've been discussing.
We've pretty much looked into it. It's pretty simple, to be honest. It's not. It's just something that can happen. It can happen. You can even prepare for it. It can happen. Sometimes people are hooked in, and you don't know they're hooked in. They're hooked into your line, and they don't even mean bad by it. But it's not a perfect technology. There is no perfect technology. The really good ones are very cumbersome, very hard to access. And I think we're going to look at, we always want to use the best technology. This was the best technology for the moment. But again, it wasn't classified, so they probably viewed it as being something that wasn't that important. And it obviously, with the attack being, I mean, I don't know if it's been read out to you yet, but that attack was a tremendous success for the U.S., a tremendous success.
Who said the information
Go ahead,
was
please.
not classified?
Do you think that Mike Waltz made a mistake, and does he need to apologize?
No, I don't think he should apologize. I think he's doing his best. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect, and probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future. What do you think?
Sir, I agree with you. Let's get everybody in the room whenever possible.
A lot of times you find out defects by exactly things like that, but I don't think it's something we're looking forward to using again. We may be forced to use it. You may be in a situation where you need speed as opposed to gross safety, and you may be forced to use it, but generally speaking, I think we probably won't be using it very much.
Secretary of Defense, on that chain, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and J.D. Vance, the Vice President, said that the Europeans were freeloading. Do you agree with that assessment?
Do you really want me to answer?
We have been watching President Trump speak with reporters after signing new executive orders. Questions coming just hours after some of his top intelligence officials were questioned by the Senate Intelligence Committee on how a journalist was inadvertently included in a group chat allegedly discussing plans to attack Houthi rebels in Yemen. Now, notably, the president and his national security advisor, Mike Waltz, are not really addressing the controversy itself. They're not talking about how it happened, just the fact that the strikes on the Houthi rebels in Yemen worked, saying that's all that matters. The president slammed his predecessor, President Biden, as well as The Atlantic, in which the editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, was inadvertently included in that group text. The president calling him a sleazebag, saying The Atlantic is a failed magazine and they've made up more stories. Notably, we should mention the National Security Council said Monday in a statement to CBS News the message thread appears to be authentic. Now, the president said he doesn't know anything about Signal, this encrypted app where the communications were taking place. He says he just heard about this. He says he understands it's used by a lot of groups, including the military. He said it's one of the prices you pay when you're not sitting in the Situation Room. He also said that he believes the media is making a big deal out of this because his administration has had a very successful first 2 months in office in his second term. The president said that no classified information was shared in the chat. He said if it's classified, it's probably a little bit different. And he added, you have to learn from every experience. Now, National Security Advisor Waltz said that their technical and legal teams are looking into all of this. A reporter asked the president if Waltz did he make a mistake? Should he apologize? And the president said, no, he shouldn't apologize. The equipment isn't perfect and they won't be using it again, especially in the near future. Although he did say we may be forced to use it again. We may need speed as opposed to gross safety. Of course, we're going to continue listening in, and our teams are going to continue covering this throughout the day on CBS News 24/7.